Like, why do people never listen to us? Why do people not listen to me? Because we predicted this was going to happen. We predicted exactly that this was going to happen, that hundreds of thousands of people are going to be out of the job, that Amazon was going to start firing people because they're replacing people with robots. We could see it coming whenever they had those robots moving around the warehouse and people were getting run over. Remember that? Yeah, they're replacing everybody with AI and robots. And Amazon fires 600,000 after woke minimum wages backfire. This is only the beginning, right? Dude, millions upon millions of people are going to be out of the job. We're going to see more and more of this from giant corporations coming very, very soon within the year. Not 2025. It's going to be like 2026. It's going to be real bad. It's going to be real, real bad. A bunch of people who are low-skilled workers are going to be out of the job because they're easily replaceable. And there's so many of them. I think actually the future is going to be based on how we entertain each other. That is where our money is going to be going. That's who's going to get the money. It's going to be everybody who is entertaining. That's kind of already where it is and how it's going. People who do social media, they're getting money. People who aren't doing social media, they're struggling hardcore.
This story is particularly important to me because it is a gigantic, massive, I told you so, to the woke policies of the California government and Oregon and many of these idiots like Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah, even Bernie Sanders is starting to flip a little bit. He was saying that all of Trump's measures for the border is really good, actually.
That's crazy. They said, hey, everyone needs to have a $30 minimum wage. We need a $30 minimum wage. Now, just so we're clear.
Dude, like, and it's not even to make up for inflation. They went way over the amount that they needed to. $30 minimum wage is fucking insane.
If you are somebody who benefited from the $30 minimum wage, stack your cash, king and or queen, I don't blame you for taking it. You didn't vote on that, so why wouldn't you get the money? I have no problem with that. The problem is when you mandate an excessively high minimum wage, you get exactly what we all knew was going to happen. When they did this to the fast food industry, what happened?
Oh man, it's going to get much worse for the fast food industry. I haven't even noticed it because I'm kind of in the South and the Midwest. That's like my area, this whole South and then the Midwest. And we're not really seeing much of it, but it's going to get a lot worse. We're going to start seeing it here.
Workers were replaced by robots or kiosks. When they did this to the hospitality industry, everyone saw that dystopian video where you check in and check out on a Zoom call with some Indian guy, okay? Everybody saw what was going to happen. And this latest move is perhaps the biggest, most brutal, destructive swath as a result of massive increasing labor costs. And we're going to get into all that after a super quick word from this video sponsor. Shout out to this video sponsor, Private Internet Access.
Oh,
Look,
PIA.
using a VPN device, shut down.
I'd rather just make my own VPN.
Based on where you're located, time, way, limited, and amount available.
I don't trust VPNs.
Is Amazon to replace 600,000 United States workers with robots.
For now.
Amid tech industry bloodbath.
Yep. For now. There's going to be a lot more.
600,000 jobs will be replaced by robots. How's that $30 minimum wage working out for you now? This is exactly what happened with McDonald's, what happened with the hospitality industry.
Yeah, the report from New York Times suggests Amazon are trying to soften the blow by rebranding AI and dude, this is what they do all the time. Like, this is what the left does. Even the right does it a lot. But, like, this is what the left does, where they change the name of things so it doesn't sound as bad. Like, the bill for puppies and kittens, and it has nothing to do with puppies and kittens. Trying to soften the blow by rebranding AI and robots as advanced technology. Like, it's gonna make everything better for everybody. And not just make everything better for the corporation and the people who run them. But eventually, dude, if they keep growing and growing and growing, and people keep failing and failing and failing, Eventually, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer is going to be unsustainable. And everything's going to collapse. Because you have to have people at the bottom who are paying for the things to keep the people at the top running. And if people at the bottom can't pay for things, then everything's fucked. We're back to the dark ages.
Now,
maybe worse.
Here's the thing. How many of those are U.S. workers? How many of them are illegal immigrants? That's a fair question to ask. Probably 20% of them, maybe 30% of them.
True.
But look, I want to also be clear. Corporations are going to corporation. And they were always going to try and replace humans with robots as soon as it became financially viable.
I actually called this back in high school over a decade ago, man. I was seeing it whenever people were starting to talk about, like, when they were starting to talk about AI being a thing. I was like, well, here comes the dystopian future where AI is going to be the overlords. They're going to control everything, because I was a sci-fi nerd. I've always been a sci-fi nerd. And we've gone beyond sci-fi at this point.
In fact, you know, my dad and mom were in manufacturing their whole life. And basically the places where they work, like when my dad retired, he worked at a place called Wacker Corporation, LOLOLOL. But they made like ground pounders and steamrollers and jackhammers. They had military contracts, all this kind of stuff. I remember going to company picnics where there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people there. That's just at the company picnic. I'm sure not all the employees show up at the company picnic. By the time my dad retired, there's about 7 people working in the factory. You know, they probably just couldn't fire my dad because they had a union and he had been around for 40 years. You know, robots have been replacing humans, whether it's automation or they're big robots, or now we're talking about these humanoid robots, all that kind of stuff. This isn't necessarily new, but when you artificially inflate the wages for people, right? It just creates more incentive to replace them with technology.
Yeah, and what's going to happen also, the people at the top, the people at the very top, they're going to be fine because they don't do anything. They're out on a yacht. They're basically just raking in cash. But the people just under them, they get paid too much. So they're going to be replaced with robots. The people at the bottom are going to be replaced with robots. And the people in the middle are going to be fine for a little while until they get replaced with robots.
This comes amid a bloodbath in the tech industry with tens of thousands of workers losing their jobs. Company bosses say that automation would allow the company to sell twice as many products. Yeah, but who's going to buy your products? Who's going to buy your products when everybody's out of work? This is the question that nobody's ever been answered. Like,
well, they're not thinking about that. It's all about now, 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 now. They never look for the future. They never look to see what everything's going to look like in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years. It's all about bottom line now, because all that matters is the next fiscal quarter for the investors.
No, but who's going to buy your product when everybody in manufacturing has been fired?
You're not allowed to ask that question.
Everybody can't have a service company. Everybody can't be a social media influencer. Everybody can't make YouTube videos, because at the end of the day, the people buying ads on the videos.
I disagree. I think that everybody will be a social media influencer, and the people who aren't good at it, well, the people who can't be good at it, because there's going to be a lot of people that aren't good at it that still get famous, that still are able to rake in the cash. I think this is how we're going to have UBI. I think we're going to be based on entertaining each other, at least for a little while, until they start getting rid of the people who they don't like, and then those people aren't going to be allowed to entertain anybody, and those people will basically starve to death.
Need somebody on their side of the video who has a job, who can pay, right? Who can pay them so that they can buy the things that are being advertised. As part of the effort, would see an attempt to rebrand the technology, calling it advanced technology or cobots instead of AI or robots. This is exactly what I was talking about with AI. This is going to have a catastrophic impact on the United States job market.
Has anybody seen Electric Dreams? There's an episode where there's just like a village of people, and there's an auto fac that's just making products and shitting them out for nobody. Like, nobody even is there to use the products. And turns out all of those people were robots. That's not really a spoiler. I mean, you kind of find out pretty much immediately. That's what that whole episode's about. Highly recommend you watch that show. It's like an anthology series like Black Mirror, but I like it more than Black Mirror because it's based on Asimov. Is it Asimov? Yeah, I think it is.
And it's going to start with high-paying Americans first, right? That's the thing. They know that it's bad. That's why they're replacing. That's why they're rebranding it. Oh, they're not robots. They're cobots. They work with us. Do they? There's one dude who makes $250,000 a year to repair the robots.
There was a billboard that I saw that said, "Stop hiring humans." You can look it up. That's some dystopian shit, man.
And that's the only person that works in these factories by the end of in the next 10 years. Amazon has been pouring money into AI in recent years, including $100 billion focused on expanding cloud and AI data centers. Recent profits have been attributed to AI within the company. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy claimed that millions of customers use Amazon Shopping Agent and expansion of the Alexa Plus and the launch of AI programs like Deep Fleet. Now, I don't use any of this stuff. I will occasionally use Grok as a search engine, but I don't have this stuff in my house. I don't. Now, I know you can't buy.
The only thing that I use AI for is for my YouTube video descriptions, and I rarely even use that now because I'd rather just come up with my own because they work better. I think the algorithm kind of knows when you do that.
Cell phone without this crap enabled. Well, that's why I have a Google Pixel with graphene on it, and why I got used to that because
I need to do that. I need to put graphene on my phone. But I don't know, man. Android is launching a bunch of Linux apps, or Linux is launching a bunch of Android apps. Whatever.
I want to do my little part to not make these AI companies so profitable that they get to replace millions and millions and millions of Americans. The suggested move comes amid wider layoffs in the tech industry. More than 150,000 tech workers lost their jobs in 2024, and another 22,000 have lost them this year. Do you want to know who they lost them to? It isn't all AI, right? It isn't all AI. It's H-1Bs.
Yep.
I really hope.
And also illegal immigrants, because that's just straight up the cheapest labor that you can get with actual humans. And they want slave labor. They wouldn't pay anybody at all if they didn't have to.
That Trump stays committed to taxing H-1B programs. We are importing low.
Unfortunately, Trump loves all the AI stuff because all the billionaires keep convincing him that AI is good. And he loves billionaires.
IQ, the average IQ in India is 75. The average IQ of a white person, who's all these people are replacing, let's be honest, in America is over 100. But they were telling us, well, we can't. Well, I mean, geez, we need to bring in all these Indian people because Americans just won't do these jobs.
No, you mean they don't want to pay Americans enough to do these jobs. Because you can't pay somebody who is worth more than what you're paying them and expect that to go well.
This news comes after some of the world's biggest apps suddenly stopped working on Monday as the Amazon Web Services went down and took a large portion of the internet with it. Apps including Snapchat, Reddit, Fortnite, Roblox.
By the way, called it. I called it. I think a lot of people called it, but it's so easy to see these patterns, man. Guess what? Guess what? It's going to get worse. It's going to get so much worse. This was a test. They were testing.
Roblox, Canva, Duolingo, Rind, Doorbell, McDonald's, and all more all began experiencing problems around 3 a.m. Why? Well, because...
Yeah, this is what we called all of this whenever they started making everything online. They made schools online. Everything at schools are online. Airports, police stations. Like, what do you do when all those systems go down? There was a South Park episode about it, and basically the United States turned into an apocalyptic wasteland.
Amazon controls the vast majority of the cloud space that these companies use. It all started with getting rid of physical hard drives, right? So you get rid of physical hard drives, and now you have to use the cloud. Even the new version of, I think it's a new version of Windows, or is it the new version of Office? Like by default makes you use OneDrive. They're garbage cloud service. Why on earth do I need to save?
Yeah, I don't save anything to the cloud except for my own cloud. I have my own cloud. It, I guess, wouldn't really be a cloud, but it sits on my desk if you want to say that I got a cloud in my office. But the only thing that I would use an online cloud for is to move files. Like, if I want to send somebody a file, I'm just going to put it in my cloud and have them pull it out of my cloud. But now I have my own cloud, so I don't even have to do that. Because if the internet goes down, it still works. You just got to connect to my cloud.
A Word document to the cloud when I have 100 terabytes of hard drive space. You know, that, I mean, that it's so crazy. Like, everyone saw this. Now they can read it. Now they can make you dependent on their cloud service. I don't need a cloud. I don't need cloud storage. I have enough storage on a thumb drive to store every file I'll ever need.
True.
Hours later, of course, you know, down to tech.
The only thing that I use my PC for is to have enough storage to record this video that I'm doing and also install games. That's the only thing that I need this storage for.
We received more than 6.5 million reports globally, with the outage affecting 1,000 companies. Well, what do we think this is going to be? You know, experts warn of a crisis larger than the Great Recession growing inside of, quote, Donald Trump's economy.
By the way, you can't even get into cars to fix them now because they're online even. They're all wrapped up. You're not allowed to touch it, and it'll shut down. A lot of them will shut down if you try to get into the system. And what happens, man, when everything's like that, and then you have an attack like AWS going down happen, then the entire world stops. And I kind of think that's what they want. I think they want to build all this stuff so they can shut it down all at once and everything be fucking destroyed.
This isn't a Donald Trump problem. This is a tech industry problem that got out in front of any kind of regulation, and gasoline got poured on the fire because of minimum wage increases. You know, there's a lot of people who can't afford, or there are a lot of companies that couldn't afford, right? That couldn't afford to replace employees with robots. But now they're like, oh yeah, this is great. Now an average laborer is gonna cost me $70,000 a year plus insurance.
They're literally creating Black Mirror. That's what's happening here, man.
I guess I can't afford them with a Tesla robot.
This is going to be dystopian.
Everybody's, it's, again, lessons from Washington, D.C. Why $30 by 30 wage plan could leave servers with less. They're saying $30 minimum wage by 2030. This is in New York. By the way, progressive cities around America have pushed their minimum wage rates to unprecedented highs, with many now creeping north of $20 an hour. Many are going even further, however, by eliminating the tipped wage system for restaurants and hospitality sector employees. These rules allow restaurant owners to pay servers and bartenders below the minimum wage as long as employees can make up the gap in tips. By the way, I'm 100% fine with that going away.
Yep.
I am 110% fine with the tip wage loophole, poop hole loophole going away. I'm 100% fine with it. LA Council backs $30 minimum wage for hotels despite warnings. I mean, have you seen the price of hotels lately?
No.
Do you think people want to pay?
I'd rather just, sleep in a van, sleep in a tent in the woods. I don't go to cities or nothing, so.
$300 a night for a Holiday Inn Express? No, they don't. Airbnb ruined it with their ridiculous fees. And now you have, massive layoffs. How many of these 600,000 people, by the way, are going to be replaced by, Indians? They're not getting rid of their H-1Bs that they have on slave labor contracts. They're firing American citizens. By the way, Amazon announced in June that it hit its workforce milestone of deploying more than 1 million robots in its fulfillment and delivery network, making it about 2/3 the size of the company's human workforce. The Amazon documents show that the company's goal is to
Oh, it's gonna overtake. It's gonna overtake the amount of humans in every single industry at every corporation. And I think we're about to start making video games and movies using robots. I don't even think human hands are gonna touch it. And I think it's gonna be at the point where like people don't even care. They'll watch the robot stuff because that's all there is. And they'll probably pretend to enjoy it, pretend that it's good, until it just completely goes away and we have nothing, or we're all dead.
automate 75% of its operations. Again, I'm not saying automation's necessarily a bad thing. I'm just saying this is what's coming. Amazon is the third largest employer in the entire United States behind the federal government and Walmart. To date, the company employs 1.5 million employees, most of whom work in warehouse or as delivery drivers. Well, who are these robots going to replace? Them.
Dude, I think we're getting real close to the end times. Like, all the people talking about it in years past, it was always natural disasters that were happening. Or like we were going to blow ourselves up with nuclear bombs. I think we're literally going to technology ourselves out of existence.
Right? That's who they're going to replace. Only a handful of companies in the United States have more than 600,000 employees on their payroll. Delivery company FedEx has an estimated 550,000. Reducing its size, reported by the Times, would be akin to FedEx disappearing completely. Studies have been done to show the impact of robots on human wages. As of 2020, every robot...
You know what we're going to get pretty soon? We're going to start getting to the point where we're automating war robots. We're going to have factories building war robots. And you know what that's going to end up leading to when you mix that with AI? And there's a lot of demonic shit working in the AI. I'm not saying AI is inherently demonic. I'm saying that demonic shit gets into the AI. And like, even if you're not a spiritual person, religious person, whatever, you cannot deny that this is where this fucking leads. Where you're using AI to make war robots, and then some crazy evil shit gets in there. You already see it. You already see it. Remember when Grok for a day just went Mecha Hitler mode? Remember that? That's all it takes is one day to fuck everything up.
Added by a company per 1,000 workers reduces wages by 0.42% and costs humans an estimated 400,000 jobs.
What's going to happen whenever the war robot machine that's creating war robots goes crazy and starts making demonic robot AI monsters that just eats everything that it touches and turns it into a bigger AI demonic monster? And you think I'm joking, you think I'm exaggerating, but like, think about it, man. That's where this shit fucking leads. Especially if the world goes to war again. Imagine a world war with AI. That's insane. That is so insane. Especially if it ramps up really, really quickly. Like, I think we've only got a few years out before that starts to happen. Who knows? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe the world doesn't end. Maybe it doesn't get that bad in my lifetime, in your lifetime. But I don't think it's going to be long. I don't think we make it to 2100, honestly.
400,000 jobs. It's going to start with Silicon Valley. It's going to start with service industry, programming, development,
military.
And this was always going to be the future. But now, with, by cramming up minimum wages everywhere, you're just ushering it in 5 years early. So I hope that I hope that having a $30 minimum wage gets you a lot of votes, but they're not going to have any jobs. That's the net of this. It's scary.
I think it's going to be worse than the Terminator future. What they thought that Terminator was going to be like in Terminator 1, 2, and 3. I think it's going to be way worse than that, because we're not going to have like exoskeleton robots walking around killing everybody. It's going to be weird shit. It's going to be weird robots. Like, you couldn't even tell it's a robot. You look at it and you're like, that thing doesn't make sense when I look at it. And it's going to be destroying everything. Donate to the Fables Folly Farm.